Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Wouldn't you know it? 10 wins in a row. How many times have I used the, look at us? Who would have thought? Not me. Holy crap, it's the Forgotten. There's a very appropriate name for this character, 97ML977. Because, look. Yikes. I'm not saying that the random number generator in Isaac doesn't work. I understand that sometimes true randomness can appear to be ordered, But, like, we probably get the Fallen 1 out of 30 runs. I understand that doesn't necessarily mean this character is not at an equal footing in the random number generator. I'm merely saying it really makes you think, doesn't it? Unfortunately, every bone in my body hates that reasoning. That really makes you think you must be an idiot to believe this sort of stuff. Just because two unrelated things appear to have some semblance of connection does not necessarily mean that they're actually connected. Unfortunately, on the internet, everybody's a genius. Anyway, where was I going with this? I don't know. It's a Wednesday. What's the big news on the internet? Well, of course the big news on the internet is Champions of Salt is finished. It was a very fun time. And then there was the Team Unity post-show, clip show, end of the year challenge / awards. Congratulations to the winners of both. I don't want to spoil it. I guess it spoils it a little bit because, if I had won either of those, you would probably not hear me say I don't want to spoil it for the winner. Or congratulations to the winner, rather. But anyway, you get the idea. The truth is, we all won Champions of Salt merely by being a part of it. I mean, I do believe that. But it is cheesy to say. There's no doubt I can't hit you. I can't hit you, dude, because we got the Bob's brain. There we go. The other big news on the internet is that the most hotly anticipated movie of 2019 is about to release this weekend. That's right, Cats. After the agonizing wait, after that incredible first trailer, it's finally out in theaters. Well, it's not out yet, but it'll be out soon. I'm mostly making a joke because I don't really want to talk about Star Wars, but yes, Rise of the Skywalker's in theaters this weekend, and apparently the critical consensus is mixed. If you're a Star Wars fan, I apologize, okay? I have a lot of sympathy for the Star Wars fandom right now, because if I am a super, turbo nerd over any mass media franchise, is Marvel. And Marvel is just it's just in a good place. Not all the movies are considered as good as all the other movies. It's not like every movie that comes out, people are like, oh, this is the best movie Marvel's ever made. However, they got a really, really good track record. And have, in my opinion at least, gone kind of historically long without a catastrophic disappointment. We could take Book of Sin. I don't think we should, though. Which is, it's impressive, but it's also very easy to be like a Marvel fan. You know what I mean? The movies are always decent to great. At least they have been. One day that'll change. One day they'll make one. And I say this as somebody who has liked all of them, more or less, except for, a couple of the very early ones, obviously. But one day they're going to make a stinker, and I'm sure that we'll find ourselves in the same position that, Star Wars fans find themselves in now. But believe it or not, I really wanted Rise of the Skywalker to be great. And maybe it will be, but the critical consensus... Maybe it will be for you, I should say, but the critical consensus is definitely that that's not the case. Because why wouldn't you, right? I don't want to see a fandom suffer. And, truth be told, despite the fact that Star Wars is kind of oversaturated, I really like it. Now, and do I like the movies that much? Well, I like the movies okay, but I think about probably 2/3 of my enjoyment of Star Wars basically comes down to the fact that John Williams is like one of the best living composers. I think that John Williams is owed probably, I don't know how much he's been paid for his work on the Star Wars franchise. I think John Williams is responsible for at least 50% of Star Wars' cultural legacy. I'm not being insincere at all, by the way. I know some people will be like, well, the music's good, but what about the lightsabers? What about Obi-Wan Kenobi? I'm like, nah. It's the music, brother. Whoa, listen to the music all the time. They don't say, whoa, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know who said, I think that's maybe the Doobie Brothers. Can't remember, it's been a while. Okay, we lived to get a bad item, but that's fine. I think music makes a big difference. I mean, I don't even know who composed the Avengers theme, but that dun 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 dun. They're owed royalties, particularly by Bluehole, who essentially just copied that theme in a, you know, no copyright infringement detected or intended. Definitely some detected sort of way for the PUBG menu music, but anyway. Look, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. Not the first person to have brought that up. Where was I going with this? Anyway, I wanted it to be good because I like good movies. And as much as I like, you know, small, good movies, I also, you know, who doesn't have a soft spot for, you know, a science fiction epic that's easily digestible for, you know, mass audiences? I don't. Yeah, we know, Melvin. But everybody else, they can get down with it. Anyway, I shouldn't talk about it too much. I haven't seen it. I will probably see it in theaters. I'm just saying, I wanted to highlight the difference between being a fan of, you know, Marvel and a fan of Star Wars, but also not in a snobby way. You know, I'm sure as Marvel fans will be there someday. One day they're going to make, like, Black Panther 3, and I'm gonna be like, I'm not sure if this is any good. And then they're gonna make, like, Black Panther 4, and they're gonna, you know, fire the director from Black Panther 3, and then at the start of the movie, T'Challa's gonna wake up and be like, oh, that was a bad dream. And then people will be like, I don't know if I like this either. But that day has not come yet. It has not come yet. Let me down, please. Alright, I'm hydrating here. I apologize if I sound ornery. I'm drinking a protein shake, but I didn't have any almond milk left. I tried to get some almond milk yesterday, but the grocery store had closed. So I am drinking it with water exclusively. Look, it's not torture, but it's pretty, it's the second, well, I don't even know if it's second best, because I'm sure, you know, soy milk is also probably fine, and, you know, other milks, cashew milk is probably fine, but it's true. I am out. I don't know if anybody else does this, but when I have to eat, like, there's no way this doesn't sound a little snobby, but just go with me on this one. When I have to eat food that doesn't taste very good, one of the coping strategies that I have, besides remembering I'm an adult and it's kind of just a privilege to eat anyway, and, like, how can you complain about food when our ancestors had to, like, roam the savannah just to get, like, a, you know, a single morsel of meat off a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. But apart from that, I kind of, like, I engage in a little bit of pretend, you know? I always pretend like, oh, I'm on, like, a spaceship. This is all they got. You're gonna complain? All we got is a protein slurry. Oh, why would you do that? What's the point of complaining about the only thing you got access to, you know? That's the way I look at it. Like when the waiter brings out my caviar and it's, from a halibut instead of Russian sturgeon. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Don't you know who I am? I don't really like caviar. I mean, I don't know. I've only had I think I've only had the fake caviar. I'm not a fish egg sort of guy, though, to be honest. It's never really struck my fancy. You might be saying, what about the salmon roe? What about the, you know, the flying fish roe at a sushi restaurant? Never really struck me. It's the one kind of seafood that I just don't really get down with. I don't find it enjoyable. If I have like a roll that has a lot of fish eggs on it, I won't like refuse to eat the roll. Because again, I mean, my ancestors roamed the plains of the Serengeti in order to bring me life. I'm like, oh, I like the salmon fish eggs. I don't really like the yellow fish eggs, though. It's like a slap in the face to my genes. But we're not supposed to talk about my genes anymore. It's been a controversial subject with me blowing the crotch out all the time. But I'll kind of like, I'll shake it off a little bit, like a Taylor Swift song, you know? I'll kind of like hit the side of the roll a little bit. That's about the extent of my anti caviar rhetoric. I mean, I guess it's not really technically caviar, but well, I guess we'll be moving on. We probably should have blown up the judgment so we could get a better chance at a deal with the devil. Fair enough. You got me on that one. But here's the thing. Hindsight, you know, it's 2020. When things don't work out, it's always easy to be like, well, you should have done it differently. Of course, you didn't know that in advance. If you did, you will be some kind of superhero. Got him. Got him. I don't have a whole lot else going on in my life right now. It's not a bad thing. I think it's like a very good thing to take this, you know, time between December and January and kind of, you know, relax a little bit. Play some Forza Horizon 4. No, I have not won an Eliminator match yet. Thank you for asking. So, like, I have some very mundane anecdotes in my life. Like, Kate is in, she's taking mixology class right now. That's, if you're not familiar, it's a fancy word for bartender school, you know? You learn how to make cocktails and, you know, serve wine and stuff like that. And a lot of people have, you know, rightfully asked, like, why is she taking that class? Does she want to become a bartender? No, but, like, she's just kind of interested in it. You know, she's taking it for personal interest, the same reason I took all those Java courses before I realized what a fool I was and should have been in web dev the whole time. So, you know, she's been making me like a drink or two per night, and I gotta tell you, I think we, like, the drinks are amazing, don't get me wrong. To have something made by someone who's actually, you know, training to... Whoa, what is this sound? Do you hear that? I have no idea. I don't know if you can hear this. Let me go check on this. I think it's from a different apartment, but... Alright, I apologize for leaving in media res, but everything's fine. There was a baby crying, and it sounded like such an eldritch horror that I needed to make sure my house was not haunted. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, you know, college me would be very disappointed by what I'm about to say, but it's the honest to goodness truth. I don't know if I'm cut out for having 2 drinks anymore. I have, like, even... This is gonna sound baby-esque, and don't get me wrong, I'm happy to have a nice cocktail. It feels good. Maybe that's the dangerous part. But, like, she made me 2 drinks last night. I just noticed, like, my sleep isn't as good. Stomach's just a little bit off today. But if that's the price I have to pay so my wife can practice mixology, then so be it. But it is like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Don't get me wrong, I'm stoked she's going through it, and, you know, I mean, this is, I'm trying to think about how to phrase this specifically. She's lucky enough to be in a position where she doesn't have to, you know, take the class for it to become a career option for her. So for her to take it as personal interest, I think it's the thing that, like, people always say they will do if they have that kind of opportunity. They're like, oh, I would love to, you know, just take class. I would love to just, I used to say this in college. I don't know how true it is anymore. That was just terrible damage. But, you know, say things like, oh, man, if I, you know, didn't have to worry about putting food on the table, I would love to just audit, like, every class in this college. I'd go to an economics class, a history class, etc., etc. That's kind of what's happening here. Except we gotta worry, like, a little bit about putting food on the table, but, like, not putting food on the table. More like, you know, keeping a roof over our heads, which is a little tougher in this city than in most cities. But I'm just saying, we're not in an urgent position, but we're not, like, necessarily, like, 100% crushing it. I mean, anyway, we didn't need to get into this, is the point. Suffice it to say, just the water for me, please. I'll have a diet soda and the water, please. I don't know why I called it the water. Help me! You ever go to a restaurant, and, you know, the new thing now, and it's not really new, but, you know, semi-recent, is, you know, you sit down, they go, do you want sparkling or still water? Still water is just a fancy word for tap water, of course. Hey, do not fight! So we can do this, right? This won't kill us as long as we switch back. He's done it. This is a solid run now. I like the sparkling water, but sometimes you get the bill and you're like, I paid that for sparkling water? That's crazy. So now I say, I'll take the still water, please. And then sometimes they follow it up with another question. They go, do you want still water or do you want tap water? And I feel like it's a question designed to trick you into spending money. And I rarely get so cynical about stuff like this, you know, like the dining industry. So I feel like it's just heavy boomer energy when people talk about, like, you know, Korean barbecue restaurants. And they're like, let me get this straight. I go to a restaurant, I cook my own food, and then I give you money? No thanks. Like you solved the problem. Anyway. But still, when they ask me, like, you want, you know, bottled water or tap water, I'm like, listen, we're all on the level here. We're intelligent people. It's coming from the same place, dude. Is that get out of here? Is that aquifer Nestle's pulling like 100 billion liters out of every decade? Don't pass that cost on to me. And don't look down on me for saying, tap water. I really wanted that to land so I didn't have to go through the riddle of the Sphinx there, but we made it. Hold on, where are we? Depths 2. Run. This is not good, dude. I'm just getting, like, slightly hamstrung by Bob's brain, leaving me in a spot where things are trickier than they should be, but that went pretty well, to be honest. Okay, we don't need to use, well, hold on. We could use a bomb to get this money. Might be worth it. Ooh, I don't know. That's kind of a scary proposition right now, but work with me, work with me. That's pretty nice. You know what would be sick right now is Sacrificial Altar. Although I don't really want to lose any of our truly amazing items. Like, everything's great right now, except HP is spicy. But that's pretty much what's happened, you know, in my life over the past couple of weeks. I know it sounds, it's a weird thing to complain about. I play video games all day, and then when I'm tired of playing video games, my professionally trained bartender wife makes me a cocktail. But, you know, I am kind of like, man, I've really been pretty light on my 90-day fiancé regimen lately. I haven't been missing any workouts, and the workouts have been good. But my 90-day fiance regimen is really, it leaves something to be desired right now. I don't know what's going on with Anna and Marcel, dude. I need to know. I did see an anecdote. Again, I don't. At this point, if you don't like me talking about 90-Day Fiancé, I get it, but I also keep talking about it just because I find it humorous. I keep talking about this one couple, Anna and Marcel, as mentioned. They are 37-year-old beekeepers who do not speak the same language and have made what appears to be on TV, at least. I don't know if this is the reality. They appear to make very little effort to learn the same language as one another, which is a real galaxy brain option for two people that are, you know, talking about getting married. Apparently, on the most recent episode, we can't. Apparently, on the most recent episode, Anna, who is the American in this relationship, got super hammered at her bachelorette party and told, a little mature content warning for you coming here. No bad language, but mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Your safety is not guaranteed. So she got extremely intoxicated at her bachelorette party, which doesn't seem out of the norm or inappropriate, to be honest, except that it's filmed. But regardless. Plus, the drinks weren't made by a classically trained mixologist, so what's the point? They probably didn't even have real caviar. She started talking to her friends about how, you know, Marcel doesn't want anything to do with her if she's been drinking, which makes sense for religious reasons because he is Muslim and, you know, does not drink at all. And then she started talking about how, like, he doesn't, you know, perform oral services on her, but that's okay because those kind of things are gross anyway. But he pees on the seat and is basically like a big man baby, and I hate him. And all I could think of was like, man, you're 7 years older than me, and you're still like, you wanted to have this conversation on TV? That's wild to me. I mean, I recognize there's some irony because I run a show where I talk about like my bowel movements, but I feel like we approach it in a different fashion, where I'm like, I offer only as much information as I want to offer, and if a little bit extra gets teased out that makes me uncomfortable but is funny and is good for the audience, that's okay. This is just a drunken deluge of TMI, you know? And the worst part is, you know, she's got like a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old son. Can you imagine being 15 years old and your mom's on 90-Day Fiancé? All your friends watch it. She's talking about how her new fiancé doesn't go down on her. It's just... It's... I wouldn't invite that evil into my child's life. I hope, at least. It's just funny, okay? But hold on, I have to bring you back, because you're like, why do you watch so much trash TV? Hey, I'll have you know, I've been watching The Expanse as well. Which reminded me, and I'm sure a lot of other people had this experience as well, watching The Expanse reminded me of that nerd from Road Trip. I forgot that, and I don't mean this to be rude to him, but I forgot that that actor existed. You know, in Road Trip, there's like... So there's Breckin Meyer, who is the 40-year-old actor who played the lead in that movie about college students. I believe he's in other stuff too. I believe he's in Josie and the Pussycats. He was kind of he was like a relatively big actor in those sorts of movies back then. Road Trip. He wasn't in American Pie, I think, but and then there was DJ Qualls, who was the skinny guy in that movie. If you haven't seen Road Trip, this is all going to be very confusing. And then there was Stifler, Sean William Scott. And then there was a nerd guy. And I had scrubbed him from memory until he showed up as a medic in episode 1 of The Expanse. I was like, oh my god, I forgot that this guy existed. By the way, whatever moisturization routine this guy's on, he looks, in my head, he looks the same now as he did during Road Trip in the year 2001, which is crazy because when Road Trip came out, I was 13 years old. Now I'm 31. I'm probably 80 to 90 pounds heavier. I've lost all of my hair. And he's just like, he's got like a couple of wrinkles. I mean, he's not old. He's, you know, probably not even middle-aged yet. But I was just like, man, aging is weird. Because it happens like really fast and then it's like incredibly slow, right? I mean, like when a person hits puberty, they age more in like a year than you age in like a decade after that point. And some people age well and some people age badly. You've definitely seen photos of people where you're like, what the heck happened? Usually what happened is they're in movies where they dye their hair, and then sometimes they don't dye their hair. And you're like, when did they go gray? And you're like, oh, 8 years ago, apparently. But they just keep dyeing it black for the movies. Because Disney won't let them have gray hair. It's bad for merchandise sales. Anyway. Get them. We should still be fine here. Help. Help me. Who's dying? Where was I going with this? But, like, you can't deny that. Like, if you look at photos, if you have, like, a high school yearbook photo. If you're in high school, by the way, you probably don't feel this way. I'm here to tell you, the odds are you've probably changed a ton in high school. Now, I mean, you didn't age. It's not like you started and people were like, you're 10. And then the next year, they're like, you're 40. I'm just saying. For the most part, people age pretty gradually. Like, I notice it, like, when my parents come to visit, usually, like, on a 6-month to 6-month kind of window. Like, if I haven't seen them in 6 months, I'm like, you guys look pretty much the same. And my parents look real good for their age. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, but, like, they have aged very gracefully. I don't know where my genes came from that made me go bald at the age of 19. Actually, I do. Both of my grandparents, or both of my grandfathers at least. But they age very well. They take good care of themselves. But, you know, definitely when I look back on like photos from like 2017, I'm like, oh, I can see it. But it's slow, right? I mean, this is a very pedestrian bit, okay? Basically, what it boils down to is like, you know, you whenever you would be a kid, you'd go to like Christmas, people would be like, you've gotten so big. And you're like, no, I haven't. I'm like the same person. Also, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm your dad's sister's insurance agent. You don't remember me? And you're like, I don't remember. Last time I saw you, my brain was the size of a piece of candy corn. You expect me to be like, oh, Cecil number 4. I remember you. I don't even remember. I have like 6 cousins total. We have a pretty small family. And none of my cousins have had kids of their own yet, myself included. That I know of, but also like definitely not. That I know of. But anyway, I don't even remember the names of their spouses. That's where I'm at. I'm not... Oh, take it, thank you. I'm not saying I think that they're gonna get divorced. That's not true. But I think I've made like a little mandate in my head that is like, you don't need to prioritize remembering this information until they've been married for 5 years. You know? When they've been married for like 3 years, you don't need to be like, hey, that's my cousin Jennifer and her husband Xavier. You know, you're not going to be tested on that information. Now, if they've been part of the family forever, yeah, you gotta obviously remember their names, otherwise you're the jerk. For now, I'm the jerk, but I'm not saying this to their face, so it doesn't matter. Plus, who's the loser? Some of them did break up, and I didn't waste the 0.5 nanoseconds committing their boyfriend's brains to memory, okay? It sounds bad. But sometimes you kind of... When you meet a family member's partner, you kind of do a little audit of the situation. Especially when they were like, you know, in their teenage years and they would bring their boyfriend to Thanksgiving. You would be like, Joel, I don't think you're gonna be there. It's nothing against you. You feel like an incompatible fit I'd love to make conversation, get an idea of what your viewpoint on life is, but at the same time, I have a feeling this is probably the last time we're gonna meet. We only get together for family dinners like twice a year. The next one isn't for like 9 months. I would be surprised if you were still here. And that's not to say, you know, I would never say that to their face, obviously. But then, you know, like 6 months later, they're like, oh, where's Joel? You know, we broke up in April. And I'm like, hate to see it. This is the luxury of being the only, well, actually, that's not true. Of my 6 cousins, 4 of them live in my hometown. I live, you know, across the country, and then another one of my cousins lives in Europe now. But it is kind of one of the luxuries of being a cousin that doesn't live in the hometown, is you can make gut checks like that. You probably shouldn't. It makes you sound like a jerk on YouTube, but I'd be lying if I said it doesn't cross your mind from time to time. When did we get this rate of fire, and why the heck was I using the Bone Lord's abilities when I could have been using this guy's abilities the whole time? Run, dude. Anyway, I don't know. This episode's gone off the rails, but I support it. This is what happens when I got nothing going on in my life, dude. It's a good thing, don't get me wrong. It's been an eventful 2019, you know? We had positives, we had negatives. You know, I stuck to my New Year's resolution of working out. That was positive. I got a false copyright strike from the Entertainment One Filmmaking Corporation on YouTube. That ruined a day or two, but you know, it all came together in the end. It's been a year. I will say, this is one of the first years. Everybody feels differently about every year, right? Some people are like, you know, 2019 is the best year of my life. Some people are like, 2019 was horrible and I can't wait to see it go. And some people are like, the year is just an arbitrary construct. The only thing that you can control is how you react to it. And then everyone's like, shut up, Ryan. And I'm like, oh, please, you should read meditations sometimes. It would really help you out. Yes, it's a bit of a self-own. But anyway, 2019 has been a good year for me. But it's gone by really slowly. Like the fact, and I think that's a good thing. You know, I think it means that there was a lot of positive stuff going on. Sometimes things go slowly because they feel like torture. This was more like, it felt like it went slowly in hindsight because, you know, a lot of stuff happened. But the fact that, like, this year was the year where I played so much Pokemon Go is crazy to me. Like, that feels like 8 years ago now. And sometimes people try to own me for it. They go like, do you regret? Remember when you were into Pokemon Go so much? You regret that now? Well, you still think it's a good game? Yeah, I still think it's a good game. The only thing is, in order to play it, I have to walk outside in the rain, which is a little bit of a design flaw. I don't mean it as like it's an objective design flaw, but it does make it harder to play in one of the world's most rainy cities. Well, one of North America's most rainy cities. I can't speak to Bangladesh or, you know, other areas with like literal actual rainforests, but we have boreal rainforests. Anyway, I'm not trying to get a chip on my shoulder. There are not too many video games that I would entertain playing if I had to stand outside in the rain to play them. The fact that Pokemon Go got a few rain days actually played, I think that's the greatest endorsement of its actual quality that I could possibly muster. I went out, I put on a coat to play that game. Most video games, you know, I boot them up for like half an hour and I'm like, even in my comfy office, I don't really want to play this anymore. Alright, very good run. Nice to be the Fallen again. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya!